Originally from Vancouver, Canada, and I've been doing spiritual practice with SSRF for the past 8 years. And we'd like to hear from all of you where you're watching from. It's always really interesting for us to learn from where all over the world our viewers are watching. So, as you know, our topic for today is on how to manage your stress. And I'm set up here on Facebook Live, so I'll be able to see your comments and your questions and any experiences that you want to share. So this webinar is very interactive, so please feel free to write in the comments and share and ask any questions that you have throughout, and I'll be able to see them here. I will do my best to try to answer as many of your questions as possible, but in case if any questions remain unanswered after the webinar, we do have a team of seekers who will respond to you within 24 hours. Okay, so we can get started. Now, I'm sure all of us have experienced stress at some point in our lives. That's why we're all here in this webinar, to learn how to reduce our stress or how to manage our stress. And with our hectic lifestyles today, it's very common. We can hear from our friends, our family, and our colleagues often saying that maybe they're experiencing some situation that's causing them stress, or maybe they're feeling overwhelmed or worrying about the future. So there's many examples like this. So to start off, I wanted to hear from all of you actually, if you want to type in the comments or type in the chat what it is that causes you stress, or what situations you may be facing where you experience stress or worry, or maybe you're thinking about the future, about something. And that way later in the presentation, we'll be able to take up your examples practically and share with you some different solutions and some different views we can have to be able to face these situations. Okay, so it's nice to see so many of you are already writing different things that cause you stress. That's nice. Okay. Now, stress management is actually a multi-billion-dollar industry. And before coming to this webinar, I did a search on Google just to see what different recommendations and different things that they're suggesting. So what I saw and different techniques maybe you have already tried or heard of, I saw there's recommendations for learning different breathing exercises, maybe learning different relaxation techniques. They always recommend having a healthy lifestyle, like eating properly or exercising regularly. Some were suggesting to take up yoga or meditation. So while all of these things are also very good in their own regard, the only downfall is that the amount of calmness in the duration that they last, say after we've done some relaxation technique or did some meditation, the duration does not last as long as we'd like it. I can give an example. Let's say we go to a meditation class, and for that 1 hour we're meditating, then definitely we're feeling calmness, we're feeling stable. But then what happens, let's say when we're driving home from the class on the highway, and someone speeds up and cuts in front of us and continues going. And let's say I get angry in that moment, that why he cut me off, and I also speed up and all of that. So basically, you can see that what happened is, although I spent that 1 hour trying to meditate, trying to stay calm, in that moment, in that instant, I lost that calmness. So this is where today we'd like to share with you 2 different techniques that you may or may not have heard of that will help give you that lasting duration of calmness, or to be able to face these situations in a calm way. So let me just see what you all have written so far. So Ria from India, she's sharing, I'm feeling too much stress for a long time. Please give me an idea to recover it. Is it emotional stress? Yes, Ria. So not to worry, Ria, it's very nice that you joined us for this webinar. So as I shared a little later in the presentation, we'll share with you some different techniques and solutions, how you can overcome the stress that you experience. If there's something in particular that's causing you stress, and for anyone else that's watching also, please feel free to type in the comments and we can revisit it later. Okay, so before we go into the solutions about how we can overcome and manage stress, first we should try to learn why it is that we experience stress. So I want to show you one slide. Just pull it up. Okay, so I think all of us can relate to this man or this camel. So basically all of us at any point in our life, we're facing many different situations all at the same time. So for example, you see on the left, this man or this camel, maybe he has a daughter who's neglecting her studies. Maybe we're fighting with our family or our spouse. We could have a son who's ill. And maybe our family is facing some financial difficulty. So up to a certain point, we're able to, carry this load on our back and we keep trying to move forward. But then what happens? When that last thing comes, it can be something as big as maybe we don't get that promotion that we've been working so hard towards. Or maybe one morning we misplace our mobile phone before going to work. So it's not that this last thing was either so big or so small, but because we were carrying that load on our back of so many other situations, our cup was full, right? So that last thing acts as that straw that broke the camel's back. So in that same way, I was wanting to ask if any of you have experienced this before. You can write in the comments or the chat here if you've experienced this breakdown or getting overwhelmed after being faced with many situations. I can share from myself, I've definitely experienced this many times, especially when I was in high school and university. I would join different extracurricular activities, try to volunteer, take up a part-time job, along with balancing my studies and time with my friends, my family. And I did the best that I could with, planning on a calendar and putting all my due dates, all my practices and my engagements. I even tried writing to-do lists. But even despite all of that, I still would break down or feel overwhelmed. I remember it was quite regular, like every 2 or 3 months or so, I would have this breakdown or I would burn out. And it would take me a day or two to recover or recuperate from that. So I'm just looking in the chat if any of you have also written. So I see Petra also was writing what causes her stress. So it's nice that you all are writing. You can continue writing. As I shared later in the presentation, I'll be going back. I'm saving your comments here of what you shared causes you stress. And we'll be taking them up in practical points also to give you solutions. Okay. So going back to this camel example, basically what it is that allows us to keep going even when we're faced with many situations, is having more stress tolerance. When we have lower stress tolerance, then this is what causes us to break down or to, have that burnout, so to speak. You saw one comment coming. So Mary from San Francisco, she's also sharing that she was breaking down when she got laid off from her job and had to find a new job. Yes, Mary, I can understand. And actually, some of us watching may have gone through a similar situation as that. And it can be quite stressful, I can imagine, especially when we lose a job and we have to find something else. So there can be a lot of pressure. So it's good that you shared, Mary, and later on we'll share some more solutions, how even in such situations we can face it calmly and have that stability. Okay, so now I want to show you another slide. We were talking about stress tolerance. Let's go. So, in terms of tolerance for stress, here we're showing you 3 main categories. So basically, you see in the first category, in this case, this man has high stress tolerance. So you can see even in the face of stress, where this lion is there facing him, he's not even bothered. He's there sitting, reading his book calmly, and not even paying attention. Now in the second category, you see this is an example of someone who has lower stress tolerance. So in this case, the man's not running yet, but you can see he's standing up and he's being quite cautious, and he's getting ready to run if he needs to. Then we have the third category. This is when there's no stress tolerance. So you see the man, he's hit the ground running in the other direction. So I wanted to ask all of you, after seeing that these 3 different categories, you can type in the comments or the chat, what category do you think you are in terms of stress tolerance? Are you a 1? Are you a 2? Or are you a 3? So you can write, and we'd like to see what you share. Okay, I can share from myself while you guys are typing. Basically, before spiritual practice, I was between 2 and 3, and I remember it really frustrated me when I faced situations where I was a 3, because although I made different commitments, or I still wanted to go through and face the situation, something inside me just could not face it. So I would have to cancel at the last minute, and I would be upset with myself after. But actually, after starting spiritual practice, then I was able to understand what it was that was causing me stress inside, and how to face these situations calmly. So I can honestly say now that I'm more between a 1 and a 2 by God's grace. And I'm just seeing what you all are writing here. So Puvesh from India, he's saying he's category 2. That's very nice. And Christina is sharing that she's in category 1. So very nice, Christina. And Petra, she's saying that she's between 2 and 3 right now. And we have Shash, who's saying he's a 1. So, Petra, she says she's actually between 2 and 1 now. That's very nice. So it's interesting, actually, we have a couple viewers sharing that they're number in the 1 category. So that's very good. You can also write to us and share how you are able to be in category 1. And maybe there's something also we can learn from you, how you're able to stay calm. Okay. So basically, one other question that our attendees in our workshops often ask is, how is it that more people, like different people, have different levels of stress tolerance? So even we saw here, like in the comments, those of you that were writing, some of you are 1, some are 2, some are you're between like 2 and 3 or 1 and 2. So why is it that all of us have different levels of stress tolerance? So actually what may surprise you is that the situations that we face, they themselves are not stressful, or they're never stressful. What it is actually is what is inside each of us causes us to respond to the situation in a certain way. So what that means is due to the impressions inside each of us, and since each of us are different and we've had different experiences, so it's due to these impressions within us that either makes us respond to a situation by experiencing stress, or maybe we're calm, depending on what's inside. So, for example, some different impressions inside us that can cause us stress include worry, fear, expectations, and some more, and so on. Whereas, let's say if we have qualities, and this enables us to face situations in a calm and steady way. So qualities like having courage or self-confidence, having acceptance and learning attitude. So like that. So based on our qualities and what we call personality defects that we have, this determines how we respond to the situations that we face. So I'm just seeing what you all are writing. So Christina was just commenting that to be in category 1, she's meditating, praying, and chanting daily. Very nice, Christina. Actually, one of the techniques we're going to share later is about chanting. So it's very nice to see her already putting that into practice. And Shash is also sharing that before I was in number 2 category, but I used to chant daily, and now I'm feeling in category 1. And he doesn't bother when he's in facing these situations that normally maybe would have made him stressed. So that's really nice to hear, Christina and Shash, that due to spiritual practice, you're able to achieve that calmness and to be in that category 1. So now going back to this point about how 2 different people can be faced with the same situation and respond completely differently. So I can give my own example. So I remember growing up and when I was in high school, actually I had a lot of insecurity and I was very shy and I tended to worry a lot. Then one of my best friends, she had a very different personality than me. She was very outgoing and she could make friends with anyone that she met for the first time. So what would often happen is my friend, she would take me to different events or different parties like that. And I remember like 1 week before going to the event, I would already be thinking and worrying about, who's going to be there, what am I going to say, am I going to embarrass myself, and all these things. And for my friend, she didn't bother, she didn't worry about it. Maybe the day before she decided what she was going to wear, but otherwise she was cool and calm. And then of course when we went to the party or the event, for my friend, it was very easy for her to, go around and talk to everyone and strike up a conversation with whoever it was that she was meeting. And then me, on the other hand, I was very nervous, who to go and approach, what should I say to start the conversation, am I looking okay, or is there something in my teeth, like all of these different thoughts and worries I was having. So basically what you can see, that this situation, like this party or going to this event, that itself was not stressful. But what it was that caused stress or not stress for the person was depending on what was inside them. So since I had the personality defects of, insecurity, being shy, worrying, like that, that's why I viewed the situation as stressful. Whereas my friend, since she was self-confident, she was outgoing, like that, she was able to actually enjoy and go through the situation steadily without any stress. So I hope that this helps to illustrate actually the main point that we want to take away or to express through this is that the more personality defects that we have, then this means the less tolerance for stress that we have. Whereas the more qualities that we have, then this equals more stress tolerance and the ability to face situations and to go through them. So if you have any questions about this, you can also please write in the comments here and we can answer. And I'd just like to reintroduce myself to those of you that are maybe joining. And my name is Radha Malik, and we're conducting this webinar on how to manage your stress. So those of you that are already watching, please feel free also, if you're enjoying the presentation so far, you can give us a like, or you can share the video with your friends and family who you think can also benefit from this. Okay, so I had another slide that I want to show you all. So basically, we face different external and internal stressors. So what we were talking about just now, these personality defects, this is what we call the internal stressors. So here we list like lust, anger, greed, attachment, pride, envy. These are like the 6 foes, so to speak. And there are other personality defects that stem off from these, but these are the 6 core ones. And then on the outside, you see the external stressors. So these are some of the different situations that we may face, such as financial problems, having ill health, maybe we have job-related stress, and so on. Now what we were sharing earlier is that basically it's the internal stressors or our personality defects that cause us to succumb or experience stress based on the outside things that are happening, these external stressors. Now the external stressors or these outside situations, we don't have any control over, right? But what we do have control over is what is there inside us. So those personality defects. We can do something about them to reduce them and to overcome them. So this is sort of what we're leading up to share the different techniques and solutions that we recommend. So let me just check here if there's any questions so far. So Petra is saying, for me, the main obstacle was to become aware of such thoughts in my mind at all. I felt like having no thoughts because they were completely hidden to my conscious mind. Yes. So sometimes it can happen. I think what you mean, Petra, is that sometimes maybe we're experiencing stress, but we're not sure exactly what it is maybe, or what are the different thoughts in the mind. So one of the techniques that we'll share about is actually called the personality defect removal process. And this is a process that will help us to study and analyze the different thoughts, the different impressions, and what is there actually in the subconscious mind. So that's a nice bridge, Petra, that you've taken us. Actually, now we'll talk about the solutions that SSRF recommends. So basically, as we shared in the earlier part of the webinar, normally what is suggested for stress management are different things like breathing exercises, relaxation techniques, exercise, yoga, meditation, and so on. But as we were saying, these different techniques, the amount or duration of time that they can give us that calmness or stability is short-lasting, because eventually we have to face that situation again, or maybe something else may come along and, pull us out of that calm state that we were once in. So the 2 techniques that SSRF recommends that you may or may not have heard of. So one is chanting the name of God. And some of you, I think Christina and Shash, you are sharing already that you're chanting. And the second is something called the personality defect removal process. So first we can talk about chanting. So those of you that have tried chanting before, you can maybe write in the comments or the chat here what benefits you experienced from chanting the name of God. And also you can share like how it's helped you manage your stress or reduce your stress. So for those of you that were chanting is a new concept. Basically what we mean by chanting, it's merely repeating the name of God, either mentally or verbally. And SSRF, we recommend either chanting as per your religion of birth, or you can chant a universal chant in case you're not attached to any religion. So, for example, for me, when I started my spiritual practice with SSRF, my family is of Buddhist background, so I was chanting Om Mani Padme Hum. If for those of you that are Christian, you can chant Lord Jesus. For those of you that are of Hindu faith, you can chant the name of your family deity. And so on like that. For the various religions, we have different names of God that we recommend for your chanting. And again, if you're not attached to any religion, then you can also chant the universal chant. And we have different articles on our website about chanting that you can find the different chants and find out which chant is recommended for you. You can also write to us in the comments or write to us in the private messages on Facebook, where our seekers can also give you personal guidance on which chant is recommended for you. Now, the benefits of chanting, one of them is that while we chant the name of God, we're actually able to attract and imbibe that divine energy through chanting God's name. And when we do this, there's no limitations of time or place for chanting. So meaning we can chant throughout the day, we can chant during our activities, and we can chant, regardless of what situation we're facing at that time. And with this divine energy that gets attracted to us when we chant, it envelops us in a protective sheath. And this insulates us from the different external situations that are coming to us or that we're facing. And we're able to experience that stability and calmness from within. So let me just see what you all are writing. So Petra is sharing that before she started with chanting, she could not calm down immediately when she had a reaction, and it would last for some days. But now the reactions are far lesser in duration and in strength. Very nice, Petra. So it's true that chanting, it does take some time as we get used to chanting and get into the practice of chanting. But over time, we start to see more and more benefits, just like what Petra was sharing. And Christina is sharing, when I chant, I experience a calm and blissful day ahead because I chant as soon as I wake up. Very nice, Christina, that you could share. And especially when we start the day with prayer and with chanting, then like how you shared it sets us off in a way on the right foot to go about our day in that calmness and stability. We have Mohammed also sharing that chanting helps me turn off my mind and decrease stress. Very nice point, Mohammed. So definitely, especially if we have the type of stress that causes us to have many thoughts or different worries, then chanting helps to bring that focus, because we're just focusing on God's name. So that helps to push away or redirect so that those other worrisome thoughts or thoughts that used to cause us stress, they get ignored or they're not allowed to surface from the subconscious mind to the conscious mind through chanting. So I think that's what Mohammed was describing in his experience. Linda from Houston is also saying that chanting has helped her feel more calm in situations that caused her stress before. And she's finding she is more positive with her friends and family also. Very good. So it's nice that all of you could share. It's always inspiring because it's one thing, like me sitting here and telling you the different benefits, but when, all of you are sharing your firsthand experiences of how it's benefited you, it's really nice and helps us to see the benefits. Okay, so while we're talking about chanting, I also wanted to share one of my personal experiences with chanting early on. So This happened, I think, around in 2010 or so. I was driving home from having a satsang or spiritual meeting at my friend's place, and I met with a pretty bad car accident. The opposite driver, he was driving a big pickup truck, and me, on the other hand, I just had my tiny little car. So at the time, when I saw pictures later, I saw that actually the whole front of my car had been like completely smashed in. And I remember, like, after the impact of the accident, the airbag had went off, and I had lost consciousness for some time, and the bystanders actually had to help take me out of the car. So you can imagine I was quite shaken. I was only maybe 19 or 20 at that time, so this was my first major car accident. And my family picked me up, and they were driving me to the hospital. And I remember being in the car, and I was literally shaking like a leaf. And I was worried about now what will happen, and I don't know what's going on. I was very disoriented. Then I get a text message from my younger sister, and that text message had a question, and she asked me, "Are you chanting?" And I truly felt that actually it was God through my sister reminding me about this technique of chanting God's name. So then immediately I closed my eyes and I started chanting God's name internally. And I remember I experienced just this cool divine wave just coming from the top and just coming inside my body and flowing through me. Just this cool calmness going through me. And I was immediately starting to feel better. And then by the time I reached the doctor, he did, all the physical checkups and everything and asked me different questions. And he knew, how bad the car accident was. But then after doing all the checkups, he told me, he said, "You know what? You've been in such a major car accident, but I can't understand, how you're so calm. It's as if you haven't been in such a car accident." So from that experience, what I realized was how powerful this chanting technique is. And, this was kind of an extreme situation. So you can only imagine, in our day-to-day life and our day-to-day situations, how chanting can really save us, how it can really insulate us and help us to face these different situations that would have otherwise been very difficult. So I wanted to share that experience with all of you. And I see some of you are also sharing your experiences. So we have Marco from Canada. He's sharing that he couldn't quit smoking, and after 2 weeks of chanting Shri Gurudev Datta, I could overcome it. Every time I had a desire for cigarettes, I started to chant, and it went away in just 15 days. So that's really amazing, Marco, that you could share. And this chant of Shri Gurudev Datta that Marco is sharing, this is a specific chant to help overcome ancestral problems or ancestral distress. So, gratitude, Marco, for sharing. And Shash is also sharing that chanting helped me to become more happy in any condition. And people around me and my friends also feel good when I'm there chanting. Wow, very nice, Shash. So this is a very nice other benefit that Shash has shared. So when we're chanting internally, because that divine energy is being attracted to us and is surrounding us, then even those around us benefit also from that positivity or that positive energy. So that's what Shash is expressing here, how even those around him were feeling very pleasant when he's chanting inside. So gratitude to all of you for sharing your experiences. So I hope that this has helped, this first technique. You all can try it. Those of you who haven't tried chanting before, I hope that you also feel inspired to give it a try and see what you experience. And as I shared earlier, in case you need any help or guidance on what you should chant or how to chant, please, you can write in the comments now to ask, or you can also send us a private message over Facebook and we can help you. Okay, I'll just take a sip of water and we'll continue to the next solution or technique. Okay. So the second technique that we wanted to share with you is called the personality defect removal process. Now basically what this process is, it's where we're able to identify and analyze the different impressions in the subconscious mind, and what we're pinpointing is those impressions that either cause us unhappiness or cause others unhappiness. And this can include such personality defects such as anger, worrying, expectations, pride, jealousy, emotionalism, and so on. There's many different personality defects that we can have. And through this process, I won't go into too much detail about all the various steps, but basically in this process we maintain a personal diary where we note down all of the different situations where these different personality defects come up, and we introspect and we analyze, and we take something called autosuggestions for them. Now what autosuggestions are, these are positive suggestions that we give to the mind, and through this we're able to actually change or correct our behavior in response to different situations. So I'll just pause here and ask, maybe some of you that are watching have already started the PDR process. If you want to maybe share how it's benefited you, or maybe how it's helped you overcome or manage your stress, or to face situations more calmly. So you can please write in the chat and we can share with everyone. So just about the PDR process, if you want to learn more specifically about the different steps, we do have various articles on our website that you can read. We also have these weekly satsangs or spiritual meetings that you can attend to learn more about spiritual practice and about this PDR process. So we were mentioning about some different personality defects. Now the ones that are more directly related to increasing our stress can include worrying, thinking about the future, if we have different fears, if we have insecurity, if we have laziness or postponing. So now you may argue for laziness and postponing. I didn't feel stressed when I was lazy. But what we mean is the repercussions. So let's say we have an exam on Monday, but we postpone or we're lazy to study until Sunday night. So then on Sunday night, we experience like a high level of stress. So that's what we mean by laziness and postponing can contribute to us experiencing stress. There can be other personality defects like if we're overambitious. So what we mean by that is, let's say in a day, realistically we can complete only 20 tasks, but then due to being overambitious, I plan 50 different tasks that I want to complete. So because I'm not able to complete those 50 tasks, then that can also cause me some stress. So that's what we mean by being overambitious. There can also be emotionalism, being shy, not planning, and so on. So these are just some. I can paste it, let me paste it in the chat here so you all can see. So I wanted to ask each of you if any of these personality defects that we listed, you feel that you also have. You can write in the comments also, or any other personality defects that you feel increase your stress, you can also write. Okay. So And just reading here, Petra has shared that through the PDR process, she learned that she has a lot of expectations from herself and others. And this was leading her to experiencing anger, which was suppressed in the mind. So she wouldn't feel anger at that moment, but she couldn't think of any further thoughts that were causing the stressful situation, and mostly at her workplace. Now it's hardly coming to the stage again eternally, and I'm able to observe these thoughts in my mind. So very nice, Petra, that you could share. So definitely through this process, depending on how deeply rooted these impressions are, it can take some time to overcome. But it's very inspiring to read and see also, Petra, like how you're slowly coming out of it, or that awareness is more coming of what's actually there deeper inside that's causing you that anger or that stress. We have Mohammed, who's sharing that PDR helped me to control my anger very well and also reduce my expectations. So very nice, Mohammed. I see Matthew from New York is sharing that PDR has helped him to reduce anger and to be more calm overall. Very nice. Nice that you all could share your different experiences with PDR. We have one more. Robbie from Chicago is also sharing that he has the defects of not planning and impatience from the ones that we listed. Yes, so it's good, Robbie, that you have that awareness, and actually having awareness is half the battle. Then once we become aware of what is there inside, which defects are causing us that stress, now we're able to work on it and overcome it. Okay, so what we'll share a little bit more about now is one aspect of the PDR process that is most helpful in overcoming our defects and overcoming these stressful situations is what we were talking about earlier, called autosuggestions. So as I was saying, basically autosuggestions are positive suggestions that we give to the mind, and this helps to remove those personality defects in the subconscious mind that were causing us to react or respond to the situations in an undesirable way. So in the case of what we're speaking about now, like in responding to the situations by experiencing stress. So one analogy that helped me to understand this, like how autosuggestions work, you can think of it, let's say we have an open grass field, and let's say I have the defect of worrying, and that's what's causing me stress. So every time that I worry in that grass field, I start walking in one pathway with my worrying. And each time I respond to a situation with worrying, then again I keep walking on that same path again and again. So then what happens when we keep walking on that same path again and again is that path becomes now more defined and very formed, right? So through autosuggestions, what we want to do is we want to form new pathways in this grass field. So instead of going the worrying way when I'm faced with a situation, through the autosuggestion, I learn how to train my mind and give a new impression that I want to go and make this new pathway of facing the situation calmly and not worrying. So the more and more that I take this autosuggestion, then this new pathway starts to form. And through the autosuggestion, I start also behaving in the desired way. So I'm able to face the situation more calmly. So more and more I walk on this new pathway. And due to walking more and more on this new pathway, then the old pathway of worrying will start to disappear. So in that same way, through autosuggestion, these different personality defects that are there in the subconscious mind, they become smaller and smaller until they eventually go away or get removed from the subconscious mind. So that's in a nutshell how autosuggestions work. Maybe if some of you who are already doing the PDR process, like Petra, Mohammed, if you want to share any experiences that you've had with auto-suggestions, you can please feel free to write in the comments and share with us. So now we can go into taking up your different situations that you shared were stressful for you, and we can give you some views that you can have and some different auto-suggestions that can help you. So before the webinar started, we had some viewers were writing in the comments already. So I took some of those points to start off with. So we had Kalia from USA. She shared that sometimes I feel stressed when there are many things to do. So I think all of us can relate to this, Kalia, and myself included, that it's very easy to get overwhelmed or to feel stressed when we have like a big list of different tasks that need to be complete. So some things we can suggest is on a practical level, we can try to prioritize and plan the different things that we need to do. And we can plan in that particular day what is realistic for us to accomplish and what we can plan for maybe the next day or later that week. And in such a situation, some of the personality defects that can be involved is maybe not planning, maybe expectations, maybe being overambitious if we're planning too much. So for Kalia, you can see, and those others that may have a similar situation, one auto-suggestion can be, I'll paste in the comments so you all can see it also. If we're not in the habit of planning, then we can take an auto-suggestion like this. Whenever I feel overwhelmed with many things I need to do, I will realize that by taking the time to plan and prioritize what I need to do, I will feel more calm. So I will sit down and make a to-do list or make a plan. So some auto-suggestion like this we can repeat to ourselves to be able to get in the habit or realize the importance of planning. Now let's say maybe we have high expectations of ourselves, or maybe we're overambitious. So another auto-suggestion we can take is maybe something like this. Whenever I feel that I should be able to complete all of the tasks I have in mind, I will become aware of it and realize that I may be being overambitious. So I will calmly plan and prioritize what can be completed today and what can wait until tomorrow. So Kalia, if you're watching, you can also please let us know if this is helpful for you or anyone else that was facing this situation. You can share if you have any questions about this or if it's helpful. Okay. Petra is also just sharing here about auto-suggestions. If I got very strong emotional reactions, I would feel like internally, it would feel very painful, and it was too hard to stand it. But when she took emergency auto-suggestions, this helped very promptly to be able to bear the process and come out of it. So very nice, Petra, what you shared. So what Petra is mentioning about emergency auto-suggestions, so sometimes there can be situations that trigger a very strong reaction in us. So emergency auto-suggestions are some auto-suggestions that we frame for those situations where we get a very strong reaction to. Then this helps us to bring us back to calmness, like what Petra was sharing. And we also have Bill from Miami. He's saying that taking auto-suggestions has helped him to become more organized and also helped to reduce his anger. Oh, very nice you could share, Bill. Okay, so just take a sip of water and we'll continue to more examples that you all shared. Okay. So we also had David from USA. He shared another situation that was causing him stress. He wrote that, I am a bad spender, and on many occasions I overdraft on my account and have to visit the bank to correct the situation. So what he means by overdrafting, he was often spending more than what money existed in his bank account. So it's good that you could share, David, because I think many of us watching we may have also faced similar situations as you. So some of the personality defects that maybe can be involved in this situation, maybe if there's some impulsiveness of quickly buying something without thinking too much about it, and also maybe if we're not planning in terms of budgeting and planning how much money we have and how much we can spend. So David, you can see we would suggest that maybe on a practical level you can try to plan a budget for the month and see how much money you can spend on things that are necessities, and how much money maybe you can spend for leisure based on your income and what is available in your account. And the second thing that actually helped me personally also was to be disciplined in keeping track or keeping records of what I was spending and how much I was spending. Because what I realized, and maybe what you experienced, is a lot of small things can add up actually at the end of the month. And although at the time, like all these small things, we don't realize that it adds up to a big amount at the end. So that's one practical solution or suggestion we can give you, David, and anyone else who's facing the similar situation. So what auto-suggestions you can take? So I will paste the first one. So in case we are not in the habit of planning and budgeting, we can take some auto-suggestion like this. I will just paste it in the chat. So something like, whenever it is the start of the month, I will realize that planning my purchases will reduce my stress. So I will calculate how much money I can spend on necessities and how much I can spend on leisure and follow my plan. So that's one auto-suggestion we can take to realize the importance of planning. And the other one, another one we can maybe take, this is if we're impulsive and buying things without thinking. So we can take an auto-suggestion like, whenever I'm about to make a purchase, I will stop and think whether it is something I need or not before buying it. So you can see that auto-suggestions are quite simple actually. And actually the more simple they are, the more easier it is for the mind to accept. And you'll be amazed like how the different viewers here that have done this process, how they've shared it's helped them overcome these different impressions and change their behavior. I see some seekers are sharing their experiences also. We have Alan from Canada. He's sharing that since starting PDR, I am more aware of my actions and reactions and how often they occur. I'm very grateful for having PDR and auto-suggestions to help reduce any improper actions and reactions that occur in my life. Very nice. You could share, Alan. I think we can all relate, those of us that have been practicing PDR. And Mohammed is sharing, when we ask God to say AS instead of us, we can feel the AS will be very effective. So I think what Mohammed is sharing is when we have that spiritual emotion, or when we take the auto-suggestion, in a way pleading to God that you only help to change me or change my behavior, help me overcome that personality defect, then even more effective the process is. So it's very nice you brought up that point, Mohammed. because actually these different impressions that we have that are causing us stress or causing us unhappiness, we don't know how many lifetimes we must have been suffering with these different impressions. And really only due to God's grace and spiritual practice, through this process, if we combine it with prayer, we combine it with chanting, and combine it with our spiritual practice, then this is what will help us to overcome these impressions much faster. And even in this one life or one birth itself, we can make a lot of progress and change ourselves for the better. Okay, so now what I can do, I will scroll back to see, I think some of you were sharing earlier on some different situations you're facing. Okay, so Petra was sharing she used to feel stressed when there was a lot of different tasks in line to be managed, and she could not find a break in between to come back to chanting and praying. So did it help Petra? I think it's a little bit similar to Kalia's situation when there's a lot of different tasks that we need to do. So maybe, as we share, to do some planning, and in that plan, you can, find where you can have that break to maybe stop and do chanting for some time or to make a prayer like that. And especially when we're doing spiritual practice, because in our day can go very fast, especially when we have work, we have family, we have to go out and do our grocery shopping and whatever it may be. We have to be quite diligent actually in making a plan so that we can fulfill or complete all of the tasks that we want to do. So if it's needed, Petra, you can see if those auto suggestions we suggested for Kalia, maybe something similar can help. Okay, let me see what else you all wrote. Okay, so there were some also other general questions that you all were asking. So towards the end of the presentation, if we have time, we'll take up some of your questions. Like some of you were asking about how to help others and about addiction. So we'll take that up at the end if we can. Okay. So Petra was sharing, yes, the auto-suggestion is nice for it. I should accept that I cannot do everything in time at work and be more priority-oriented. Nice. So that's good, Petra, what you shared. Definitely, if we have that acceptance of what is possible for us and what we can do, that helps also to reduce that stress or tension. Okay, we have, I see one from Alice from San Francisco. She's saying that she faces stress due to working 2 jobs, and she's also in college and trying to work towards her degree. Yeah, so I think many of us can also relate to Alice's situation, especially when we're in college or university, with the different student loans and different expenses we need to pay off. Sometimes we have to work 1 job or 2 jobs like that. So for Alice, what we would recommend is this technique of what we shared about chanting. That can help you if you try to practice chanting throughout the day, or if you want to even, what we recommend is setting some time aside in the day to do concentrated chanting. So sitting in one place, in a quiet place, where you won't be disturbed. You can also sit and do that chanting. So this will help create that stability inside, like what we were sharing, and also create that protective sheath around you. So then when you go about your day, so when you go about through your studies, or you go from that job and this other job, if you try to keep chanting through those different activities in your day, then that calmness or stability will stay with you. and any maybe negative thoughts or worrisome thoughts that you may have, then this will also reduce when you're going through the different situations. And if you have any particular thoughts that are causing you stress, then we can help you frame auto-suggestions for them. So if anything related to college, that you're worried about, or, about with the different jobs that you're working, any situations at the workplace that you're facing that are causing you stress, we can also frame specific auto-suggestions for that too. So you can write to us in the comments or in the private messages and we can help you. Okay. So I think we had just one more that Kalia had written from USA. So she had a second one. She wrote that when people around me are not getting along, then she feels stressed. So I don't know if any of you have also experienced this before. So basically what we thought for Kalia, some of the personality defects that can be involved. Maybe if we have some expectations of how others should get along, or maybe if we have some emotionalism also, like feeling bad or feeling, negative if others are not getting along around us. So some perspectives or some viewpoints we can keep. One of them being is that each person has their own personality and their own sets of qualities and own sets of personality defects. So it's natural that for some people, these personalities can clash and it can make it difficult to get along. And another spiritual perspective we can keep is with the different people we have in our lives and the different relations we have. We have our karma with them or give and take accounts with them. So if we have some negative karma, maybe with a particular person, then it can play out in this way, where we're not able to get along. Maybe we fight more often or we have more quarrels. So there can be a spiritual factor of this karma or destiny in this relationship between two people. So for Kalia, you can try to see what we were thinking on a practical level. If it's possible, we can try to be a mediator and try to bring these two people to understanding each other. Or in the case where it's maybe not possible, even though we try, then at least we can try to see how we can stay calm or how we can stay stable in the situation. Then that way, that will benefit us more and also those around us more. So, I can share two different auto-suggestions that may be helpful for you, Kalia. So here. So this first one is, let's say a situation where we can intervene or mediate. So it can be something like whenever Carol and Sandy begin to quarrel about, and we can say the subject, I will realize that they may be having difficulty understanding one another. So I will calmly mediate to help bringing understanding to the situation. So that's one auto-suggestion. So that's in a case where we can do something about it. But of course, there may be situations where even though we try, we're not able to change others or change the situation. So this can be a second auto-suggestion here that I've just pasted. Whenever Andy and Tim continue to argue after I've tried to intervene, I will realize that they may be having difficulty to get along, so I will remain calm and focus on chanting God's name. So here, Kalia, in the second one, basically when we come to a situation that we cannot change, then at least we should try to stay calm inside and we can chant God's name. And slowly, over time, even through that chanting, because those positive vibrations come and can influence the environment, then this may also stop the argument that's happening between these two people. I don't know if anyone or any of you have experienced that before. I experienced it before actually with my family in my house, that sometimes there was some tension in the air, in the environment, and no matter what I tried to do, I couldn't change the situation. So then I tried to stay calm and I tried to chant. And then after some time, I noticed that that tension or stress in the environment started to dissipate. And then those quarrels or those fights at home was reducing due to that. So in any case, you can try that maybe, Kalia, and if you're watching, you can let us know if that's helpful for you or not. Okay. So, dear seekers, I'm looking at the time and it is coming towards the end of our session today. So I apologize, there were some questions we could not answer. But we do have a team of seekers that will be responding to any unanswered questions within 24 hours. And even after this webinar, if you have any further questions or experiences you want to share, please feel free to write either in this comments for this video, or you can write us a private message also. If you write us a private message, we do ask you can let us know that you are watching this webinar. Then that way we have a team of seekers that are also responding just to the viewers of our webinars in private messages. I just have one experience from Petra that I want to read out. So she wrote that there was once a quarrel of the residents of the house where we live. I did not know any of them, so I could not intervene. So I just stood and chanted. Then after a few minutes, the quarrel just vanished. So very nice, Petra. So this is what's really amazing and inspiring about spiritual experiences. We can see when even different people apply these different techniques or the same principles, we can see similar experiences that various seekers are having by putting these different techniques into practice. So gratitude for sharing, Petra. Okay, so to conclude our session today, I just wanted to express gratitude and thank all of you for your participation. It was a really good learning experience for me to hear from all of you what different questions you had, and also what different learnings and experiences you've had, and it really benefited all of us. And also, if you enjoyed these sessions, you can also look into joining us in our satsangs or spiritual meetings that we have weekly, and they're free of cost to attend. I'll just put one slide up so you can see. So in these online spiritual meetings or satsangs, you get a chance to learn from different seekers that have been doing spiritual practice for many years. And we also get to clarify any questions that you have about spiritual practice and about this PDR process we were speaking about. And these satsangs, it gives you that weekly boost of divine energy to continue throughout the week in your spiritual practice. So there's the link here you can go to learn more. It's ssrf.org/events. Then also, we have newly started offering these 3-day and 5-day spiritual workshops alongside the Maharishi Spiritual University. So we have 5-day workshops that we're offering in Goa or in India at the SSRF Research Center and Ashram. And this is a unique opportunity to learn about spirituality firsthand. And we're actually broadcasting live now from the ashram or the SSRF Research Center. And it's a really amazing experience because you get to see how the seekers that live here, how they live spirituality. It's not just a hobby or a concept, but they actually put it into practice through every action and through their behavior. And we also have 3-day spiritual workshops available in Europe and USA, in case maybe India is a little too far at the moment. So you can also attend these workshops, and the links are there on the slide, you can see. Now we'll also be having more webinars on Facebook Live. So our English ones will be every 2 weeks on Sunday, and I believe our next one we're planning to have on the topic of a spiritual perspective on music and dance. So that should be quite interesting. And if you want to receive notifications about these future webinars, you can like our page, and then here you see under following, if you click on that, you can just make sure that the suggested live video option there is checked off. Then anytime that we're scheduled to go live, then you'll get a notification there. And recently we've also started our webinars in other languages. So actually last weekend we had our first Spanish webinar on Destiny. So we have a SSRF Facebook page in Spanish that you can also visit, and you can see the video there. And we also have other webinars in Serbo-Croatian, and soon we'll be starting in German, hopefully, and other languages as well. So I want to express gratitude again to all of you for joining us today for our live webinar. And we wish you all the best in your spiritual journey. And we give our namaskar from our SSRF Secret family.